Hello everyone, hope you're all well. Welcome to this session on World Nuclear Energy Day. This day is celebrated each year on 2nd of December to celebrate and to remember the Enrico Fermi and his achievement on Chicago Pile, which he criticalized in 1942. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Jeremiah Josey. He is the founder of the Thorium network. It is a blockchain technology how to find and track radioactive isotopes. He is a Swiss-based international focused technologist and he has more than 30 years of his experience in allocation of capital to build industry and complex facilities. He has his experience in companies like oil industries like BP, Chevron, Kuwait Oil Industries, and from early 2000, he developed his interest in to discover the liquid fission thoriums and its application. So today we have a very special guest with us, which from which and with whom we discuss the informative and information about nuclear technology and somewhat about the advantage of thorium fuels also. So welcome, Jeremy. How are you?
Thank you very much, Ridhi. I'm fantastic, and thanks for the opportunity to speak with you today about this very significant and very important topic of fission energy.
Yes, it is. So, as we all know, that India is a very unique potential in thorium fuels, and Dr. Homi Jahangir Baba, the founder of Indian nuclear program, also developed three-stage nuclear program. So, can we have can you discuss about what are the advantages and what you know about your knowledge on thorium and its application, and also about some insights?
Absolutely, Ridhi. So, Bharvi, statements on fission energy for India. I think 54 was the formative year. The Indian research started in 1958. And I think, like, if I think about the time that's gone on between then and now, and
Yes,
what the US were doing with liquid fission thorium at the time, it's really unfortunate that India wasn't collaborating with USA in thorium in the 1960s, because this is when the US at Oak Ridge National Labs went right through many different alternative technology systems, and they finally worked out that a eutectic salt of lithium, fluorine, and beryllium,
yes,
thorium, would be is the best way of getting civilian energy production. And this came out of the Manhattan Project, and the person
yes,
responsible for plutonium, Dr. Alvin Weinberg, he was
mm,
disgusted with his involvement in the production of the bomb for Nagasaki, and he dedicated the rest of his life to
yes,
solving this conundrum. How do you make energy from fission,
yes,
nice steady state civilian style energy production, without the weapons? And
yes,
then all through that time, from the 1940s till 1972, when he was fired for his dedication to this task, liquid fission thorium was the solution, and everything else was dropped away as not being significant. And unfortunately, India didn't get into that stage. India was supported by, I think, Idaho National Labs, a different research group, and also by Canada.
yes,
And these groups were very interested in the production of plutonium, which is weapons, obviously weapon system, and the can-do system, which is what
mm,
Canada went on to develop, commissioning the
yes,
first one in '68, is using natural uranium,
mm,
99.3% U-238,
yes,
0.7% 235, to produce energy, but it's a perfect weapons manufacturing system. It's like the net result out of a can-do can be is a plutonium factory. So that's why Alvin Weinberg dedicated his life to energy generation from thorium. Now,
Yes,
unfortunately, India didn't go down that path. India has gone down the path of this three-stage, very significant to do these three stages, which
yes,
is the solid fuel systems, which is what's been going
absolutely.
on for many years, the pressure water reactors. Yeah. There's about 22 reactors also in India now, as I understand, producing about 8 or 10 gigawatts of electricity. So that's fantastic. That's a great result.
Yes, we
Basically,
have.
can do technology. Yep.
Yes, we have. Sorry to
And
interrupt,
so
Seven,
using
23 nuclear
Mhm.
reactors, and we are building many more reactors. And as COP28, we are wishing to just three times the nuclear energy of India by 2050. So yes, we are building like many new nuclear
yeah,
reactors. As per my knowledge, it's 11 or 9 nuclear new power plants and reactors which we are going to install in new places also and in new cities also in India, apart from existing one.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I think you've stopped. There's a bit of a lag in the talking, so I'll continue on.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, the India's going down this path that USA and Canada did in the 1950s and 1960s, but unfortunately, they didn't follow the path that another part of the US did, which was liquid fission thorium.
Yes.
If India had done that, then India would probably have 100 liquid fission thorium reactors running today.
Yes.
There's no pressure. You're running an atmospheric pressure. They're very small. They're very efficient, and you get a lot more energy out of them than you do from using solid fuel systems. You've got to
Yes.
be in liquid fission state to get the most out of your energy. If you're just using solid fission, it doesn't work. An attribute to even alluding to the point that even if you're running a can-do, you're only burning about 6.5% of the fuel before you have to take it out, before it gets contaminated and the fission process stops. So,
Yes.
look, all credit to India. India has the largest amount of thorium on the planet. The next countries that have thorium are Brazil and Australia,
Yes.
which don't have nuclear programs as such. They don't have nuclear programs. They don't. US has a whole bunch of thorium as well, but they're so tied up with fossil fuels, they'll probably never allow thorium
Yes.
to get ahead. India really is in the best position in the world
Hmm.
to become energy independent using thorium. India doesn't have uranium supplies; it only has thorium supplies, and
Yes.
it's number one in the world. And it wouldn't take very long at all to get
Absolutely.
to liquid fission thorium energy production in India, because all the research has been done. It's all been done
Hmm.
50, 60 years ago, like I said, with Oak Ridge National Labs, which is, it's a great launch pad if India were to get with say, look, we're going to go for liquid fission thorium today. Look, and I recognise, getting pressure water reactor technology is good.
Hmm.
To have that experience, getting advanced heavy water reaction experience is good. Yes, that's all good as well. Uh,
Yes.
if you, the heavy water is a good moderator. So it's an excellent way of controlling neutrons and tuning your reaction to be exactly where you want it to be. This is what Copenhagen Atomic are basing their liquid fission thorium process on, or moderating it using heavy water.
Yes. I
And
see.
this is an advancement to what was actually 1960s. Then they didn't bother with any moderation. You don't really need it when you're in a liquid state, because the mass of the this is a very interesting thing. You don't need moderation when you're in the
Hmm.
liquid state. You do in the solid state. You need to be able to control your neutrons, but in the liquid state, the mass itself in the liquid
Yes.
form will moderate itself you use the moderating liquid there mainly is to keep the electrons, sorry, the neutrons in the zone you want them to be active in.
And
So it's a
the
very
safety measures, sorry to say, the safety measures are also good in liquid base because we can easily drain if any hazardous condition occurs. So it's much safer as a solid form.
Oh yeah, I mean, even you don't even need to drain it. I mean, the Doppler broadening means that fission stops as temperature rises. So you have an inverse correlation between temperature and fission in liquid state.
Yes,
You don't have that in solid state. You know, they correlate. You increase
yes,
heat, you increase. Well, actually, you increase fission, you can have a meltdown. So you don't even need to drain the material. It just
yes,
sits there. Uh,
yes. And now
So it's a
coming,
very, I mean, it's just an all around safer system
yes,
together. Plus, it runs. Yeah,
it is. So going to our
I was
second
going to say it
question.
runs at atmospheric pressure. So
Okay,
there's no pressure in this thing. It's like having a can of Coke. You don't, you
yes.
know, a pressure water reactor is you shake the Coke up
Mhm.
and then you keep the lid on.
It's amazing.
This
So
delay is a bit
going
difficult.
to our second question, which is, as we all
Mm-hmm.
know, that nuclear energy has globally a mixed point of views among people, and many countries are adopting nuclear energies after like COP 28 and 29 because it's a cleaner amount of energy. So, what's your thoughts on this? Like how nuclear energy can help and it can use for the development of the people and the society.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Ridhi, and it's great to see the COP28 outcome with most countries committing, or a lot of countries committing to three xing their nuclear power.
Yes,
Nuclear power is the only thing that will take society into the future. Nothing else, nothing else works. And it's been a long time coming. There's a lot of money it's spent against the nuclear industry
yes,
by the fossil fuel industry to keep it down. Billions are spent every year. There's lots of documents and reports you can study on that. So unfortunately, if you're not in the game, if you're not educating yourself to great detail, you may be prone to fall into the propaganda that you're presented. But thankfully, COP28 really changed that and really made a lot of people more aware of what can be done to make a greener, safer planet.
yes,
Just going back, the reason we push thorium and liquid fission thorium is you cannot proliferate weapons when you're in liquid fission thorium state. If you stay in the uranium state, you can switch over to thorium. You have no
mhm,
weapons. You have lots of energy, and that's why we push it so much.
yes. So now coming to our third question, which is returning back to our discussion. What makes thorium a potential fuel as compare like it's more as we know it's more safer and more efficient because studies had like many researchers and according to study it is being observed that it is more abundant than uranium and it has only one isotope of like thorium and after it's using in nuclear power plant it produces less long-lived radioactive isotopes, which is a benefit for us, so that it can be safely discarded and the spent nuclear fuel can be it is being transferred to the safer place. And also, it is harder to weaponize thorium as compared to uranium. And we can see also by various researches. So, what's your point of view and about this thorium fuel and how can
Mm.
we use it?
They're all great points. They're all great points, really, and I don't need to add to any of them. I will add a little bit here and there.
Yes,
The key to understand about liquid fission thorium is it's such a small, insignificant business. One
yes,
100,000 ton ship could supply the entire world of energy if it was running on liquid fission thorium. If the world is running on liquid fission thorium, one little ship, 100,000 tons, a tiny little ship, could
yes,
poke around the world, delivering off all of the energy that the world would consume, which is about 600 exajoules in 1 year. That's a tiny market. That's like, well, that's only one little ship. It's going to cost nothing. So that's the real issue, is that when you've got fossil fuel industry at about $10 trillion per year, there's a lot of profit, a lot of people involved in that. When you switch over to liquid fission thorium, it drops down to about $20 billion a year. It's a huge drop. All of the benefits you just spelt out, they're all the reasons why thorium should be our energy source worldwide. The discrepancy or the difference in revenue is why it's not. $10 trillion versus $20 billion. That's why liquid fission thorium is not pursued. And there's lots of money paid to many people to take the points that you made and spin them around and either lie about them or cast aspersions on what the real facts are. But let's just go back to the real facts. There is more thorium on the planet than there is uranium. Doesn't really matter so much. If you get into a breeding zone, like they did at Shippingport, you can breed more thorium than you burn. That's the magic of fission. So we're going to have as much thorium as we ever need because we're going to make more thorium. That's just fantastic. This was done in the 1980s in Shippingport in the US. You can't proliferate with thorium. US have tried, UK have tried, Russia's tried, China's tried. You can't make weapons from thorium. It's basically impossible. It makes it incredibly expensive. If you do get it, you go broke trying to make a weapon from thorium. I can go into more specifics on the actual mechanism, but we don't need to do that today. The waste, it's not even an issue. I mean, I don't even know why people talk about waste even today. There is no waste from a nuclear power station. You have a very well controlled, very clean storage facility where the once through fuel is there and is now stored, and that's actually really valuable material. You want to bring that back and reprocess it and make more energy out of it. When you're in the thorium, liquid fission thorium state, you burn up all of your fuel. So as I said before, in the CANDU process, you're only burning about 6.5% of your fuel. If you're in a HALEU or a pressure water reactor non-CANDU, then you're going to only burn maybe 3% of your fuel, which is tiny. When running liquid fission thorium, you will burn more than 99% of your fuel. That's why they're so good. And what comes out, the remnants, you just have to store that for 300 years. And then it becomes road base. It's just basically dirt after that. There's nothing wrong with it. So, yeah, I mean, your points about the benefits of thorium are just fantastic. That's what everyone, when you study the material, you go, yeah, this is obviously the choice. But remember, it's a $10 trillion fight versus a $20 billion industry potential. That's the real conversation you've got to have.
Yes, it is. So it's very interesting to share and to know insights from you, Jeremy. And the session is going very interesting. So coming to my next question, uh, as the increased demand of energy around the world, how you can see among it can use to achieve our other goals, and what are the applications of nuclear energy apart from producing energy, and how, as we were discussing like yesterday also, how the energy helps for the development of people. Like we were having a like quite like brilliant discussion
I think you've
with
frozen,
you.
Ridhi.
Now I'm audible. Now I'm audible, Jeremy.
I missed.
Sorry, there's like I have a bad internet connection. Am I audible now?
No, I've lost the.
Uh, Now can you hear me? Um,
I can't hear you.
uh, Now you can hear me?
Yes, now it seems to be good. Seems like we're back again.
Okay, let me take you back to the screen. Uh,
Yes.
are you able to see my screen? No.
Hello. I can see you. I can't see what you're sharing.
Okay, now I think you can see the screen. Let me start it again. Yes, are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, I can. Yeah, this
Yes.
is where you started to ask me a question about this screen before it stopped.
Yes. So I was a bit interested to know your thoughts on how, as we know that we have an increased demand of energy as our population of world has been increasing, and to meet the energy demands, how nuclear energy can help, and not only to get, as we were discussing yesterday also about how when people we provide cheap energy to the people, how they can think more about their development. So, your thoughts on this, I like, we need to know.
Sure. No, it's a very, very, very valuable thought. And I mean, if your country relies on a pipeline to provide energy, and that
Yes,
pipeline could be coal, could be a conveyor belt, it could be gas, could be oil. If that stops, your country is turned off. You lose energy. You're gone. It's a
yes,
very, very, very fine line between a good sustainable economy and then one that's living in the dark, as we know. And we know that this also means sovereignty and security are very, very tenuous because of this on-off ability of energy.
yes,
When you get into fission, particularly liquid fission, thorium, a small amount of thorium goes a long way. Like I was telling you, it's only about 100,000 tons a year of thorium. It's even less than that, but just round numbers. 100,000 tons of year can provide 600 exajoules of energy, which is
yes,
all of the energy we use as humans, both electricity and for transport, all of it. So it's a very, very easy calculation. Like, wow, why aren't we doing that? When you get into that state, energy
yes,
becomes very, very cheap as well. So not only do you have nice, secure, long-term energy, because you can, the boat can turn up and you can take a few tons of energy. So look, I'll see you in 2 years. Okay, bye. And then you've got an energy for your
yes,
city or your country
absolutely.
for
Mm,
sometimes decades. In fact, China has something like 10,000 years supply of thorium stockpiled. That means
mm,
stockpiling thorium. It's not in the ground like it is in China. They've been stockpiling it, getting it high, bringing it in. They've got 10,000 years of energy supply using liquid fission thorium, which is crazy.
yes,
So not only do you have cheap energy, not only do you have energy supply, you've also got very cheap energy, which means you can think. You
yes,
don't have to worry about
absolutely.
chasing after heat,
Can do it.
keeping yourself alive. Yeah, exactly. You're better at producing food because you've got low cost energy available all the time. So suddenly you're like, right, what do I really want to do? How can I really improve the environment that I'm sitting in? That's why I'm a person with a very strong energy background,
Yes,
and that's why I decided to focus on what is the best form of energy. Well, there it is there, liquid fission thorium. That's the one. And clearly, if the world was running on it, we'd be in a far better place. And all of the sustainable development goals would just collapse into one: low
yes,
cost, always on, cheap energy. That's it. It's not going to solve the political issues of the world.
mm,
Humans are humans. We'll always throw things at each other. It seems to be a common thing.
yes,
That's another topic for another day. But
sure.
getting ourselves into energy density, energy security, and energy cheapness, that's where everything else can manifest, including urban mining. I mean, the concept of urban mining is a bit of a sort of a gimmick in some respects, because you are only going after the high cost material that's in domestic waste. With low-cost energy, we could recycle everything. Could be recycled. Wouldn't matter. We'd work out a way of recycling everything. So our footprint on the planet would reduce down to a pinpoint, whilst we're able to just recycle everything we wanted to do. Low-cost energy is really a special place to be. Now,
Yes,
I see on here you've got things like nuclear desalination. Well, you've got the excess heat from nuclear power systems, but you don't even need that. You can just produce electricity, run it down a power line, and then run desalination. So you don't even need to use the heat from nuclear systems. You can go into electricity and then desalinate that way. Hydrogen, yeah, maybe not. It doesn't actually work as a transport mechanism.
yes,
It's a very difficult molecule to move around. We've got to change our entire method or manner of dealing with such a small, tenacious molecule. It gets into every little crevice. It gets between steel into little everywhere. So it's a bit of a nuisance molecule. And but anyway, there's a whole bunch of people want to create whole industries on it.
yes,
Let them go for it. It'll probably go the way that ethanol went. Ethanol didn't last very long before people realised it just doesn't benefit, and we've got to change too much of our infrastructure for that zero benefit. Hydrogen will go down the same path. So bring it back. At the end of the day, it's having excited electrons seems to be the best way that we can move ourselves around. And excited electrons, what I mean by electricity. And the best way that it looks like we can do that at the moment is with fission, which is a heat
yes,
source collecting the energy
absolutely.
from that produces heat, which we then convert into excited electrons, and then we can go on,
Yes,
distribute those electrons around, and then take that energy out in another way. So, in a very sort of pragmatic approach, without forgetting about that 10 trillion, 20 billion dichotomy I mentioned
yes,
before, it's very clear what the technical solution should be. But we can't ignore that business political situation, because that's the reality of
yes,
humans. We are interested in profit. We're interested in the sovereignty of our own state. So we haven't got to a unified consciousness or thinking across the world yet, and we won't get there for a long time. So the best way to do it is piece by piece. India really is in the best situation to leapfrog over
yeah,
the
yes,
rest of the world, simply because of the amount of research you've done in fission since the 1950s to get to today. I think, look, China picked up all the information from Oak Ridge in 2015 and
yes,
now have a running liquid fission thorium machine in Wuhai Desert. Yep, in the Gobi Desert,
yes,
a place called Wuhai. So
okay,
India could easily do the same. It wouldn't take very long at all, a few years. In fact, there's no issues with the metals anymore. We've solved those problems, if ever there were problems. It's really just come down to having the will and
yes,
having the desire and having enough people who say, yes, I want to do this technology, which was
absolutely.
already researched.
There,
Yeah, already
yes,
done a long time ago.
there is a way we can say if you like India and other countries have their will to adopt nuclear energy, they will. And we have one like this thorium-based nuclear reactor in the Kalpakkam site. It's in nuclear power plant, and there is a research reactor in India, and scientists are working on it. And yes, sure, in the future year, we soon adopt thorium-based and also the liquid thorium-based fuels. And it was very fascinated to talk to you, Jeremy, and you just enlightened us with your 30 years of experience and all of the knowledge you have. So, as this year,
My
the
pleasure.
Nuclear Energy Day has a theme of We Are Critical Mass. So, do you want to add something to it?
So
Yes, it was interrupted. I'm again sharing my screen. Yes. So my question was, Jeremy, as this year the World Nuclear Energy Day has its theme of we are critical mass. So do you want to add something in it? And how?
we're very close to that. Yes, it's a very good point, Ridhi, about that. COP28 was an eye opener for many people in the world who had automatically rejected nuclear, not out of their own thinking, but
Yes,
because the newspaper or the media had said you should reject nuclear, so then they automatically did. So COP28 was a huge wake up for many people to say, really? Nuclear?
yes,
Wow.
yes,
On top of that, recent news by Google to go nuclear, and particularly Microsoft buying
yes,
the energy from 3 Mile Island, that is just
yes.
fantastic news
That can
because
actually be a
it
big,
cracks, yeah,
big role for them.
it
Yes,
it cracks the psychological vase that people have been holding as so sacred. I mean, 3 Mile Island is a classic. There was no issue with 3 Mile Island. It was a
mm,
minor incident that was just spun out of proportion by those people I spoke about before,
yes,
and the fact that Microsoft are saying, "Let's turn it on." This is fantastic. It's like, great, we'll turn
yes,
on that reactor, not the one that had the incident, but the one that they shut down in 2019.
yes,
Restart it. It's fantastic. So yes, I think we're at that critical mass point. I
yes,
do want to see us steering ourselves with good, solid thinking into liquid fission
yes.
thorium, because when we do that, it's a matter of 10
Okay.
years, and you
Yes,
would find the massive change in the world if we decided to go down liquid fission thorium path. Now, I
yes,
say that because Andrew Wang, who was running as a president for USA in 2020, his energy platform was liquid fission thorium, and with $5 billion, he was intending to have the entire US system running on liquid fission thorium by
yes,
2030. So, without questioning whether that's valid or not, just
yes,
assuming that that window is somewhere near correct, that's insane.
yes.
Such a small amount of money for the entire US
Um,
economy running on one energy form
Jeremy,
in 10 years.
uh,
Great.
yes, it is great. It's great. And we are running of time also. It was pleasure to have a great session with you. And yes, we again have scheduled a new interview session with us because you are having a lot of information. So it was a very great day to have an interview with you and to have a session with you. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thank you, Ridhi. Pleasure. It was my pleasure, and looking forward to a great day when
Okay.
this year, which was a great. So it's actually a big milestone, isn't it? This year. So
Yes,
thank
it
you
is.
again.
Thank you.